Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our preview for the Hungarian Grand Prix. My goodness, we've had a week away. It's felt like a lifetime. I have no idea how we're going to survive the summer break coming up. But for now, we don't have to worry about that because F1 is back this weekend in Hungary. In this video here, what we're going to do is have a look at all the latest news headlines from across the week. We're going to have a look at all the upgrades that have come for this weekend, and there are a lot of them. Some of them working a hell of a lot better than others. Aston, again, we'll get on to that. We'll also have a look at Special Helmet Street, have a look at the practice sessions, and we'll make our two predictions, which, as everyone who watches this regularly knows, I never get my predictions wrong, ever. So that's all to come. Before we do that, though, remember to like and subscribe. And also a big thank you to our members, Dakota, The Joyous James, and a brand new member, Robin Myers, has joined the membership on the channel. If you want to be like them and get your little shout-outs in the video, there is a link in the description to become a member. Let's talk about news, though. And we'll start with the Haas team, because there has been a contract extended and a contract ended within the Haas team. Firstly, the contract that has been extended is their deal with Ferrari for Ferrari to supply them engines. That has been extended up until 2028. This has not come as a shock to anyone. Ferrari and Haas have been tied together since Haas's first ever season, so no shock here that is not going anywhere. Also, with them taking Ollie Bearman on, who is the big Ferrari junior, you had to think that relationship was solid and was going to continue on for quite some time. So no big shock there. Unfortunately, the contract that has ended also comes as no big shock, and it's the contract of Kevin Magnussen. It's been announced that he will leave Haas at the end of the season. Now, I say it's no big shock because we've heard all the rumours that Ocon will be the man to go to Haas next year, but I'd like to say personally, if I was in charge of Haas, I would have kept Magnussen. I think Kevin Magnussen might be one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And, the work he's done with Haas as well over the many, many years, I think he's massively underrated. And also, you can look at this year and go, oh yeah, but look at when he got all those penalty points and he did this and he did that. But everything that he did to get those penalty points was so that Haas could score actual points. All the defensive manoeuvres he had against Hamilton in Miami, all the defensive maneuvers against Yuki in Saudi, they were all to build that gap so Hülkenberg could score as many points as he could. He is the ultimate team player. I don't think there's any driver on the grid who is as much as a team player as Kevin Magnussen is. And, aside from that, he puts in some great performances as well. And, to have him kind of thrown out like this, it's upsetting because I think he deserved another go with Haas. And I think as well, with Ollie Bearman coming in next year, Magnussen's a great guy to have there to teach a new up-and-coming driver a lot because, he's been there for a long time. He's been in all sorts of teams. Many forget, but he made his debut with McLaren where he got a podium on his debut. Yes, it's his only podium of his career, but still, podium on his debut for a legendary team like McLaren. And he's been around everywhere. He was at Renault at one point. He's been to Haas. He's probably been elsewhere. I'm forgetting other constructors that he's been with. But, he's been at the front of the grid. He's been at the back of the grid. He had pole position. He is a great driver. And the sad thing is, as we sit here right now, I don't know where he goes from here. And I wasn't forgetting any constructors. He's only had 3 constructors, Haas, Renault and McLaren. So yeah, I don't know where Kevin Magnussen goes from here. And I don't know if we see him again, which is a shame because, Magnussen's F1 career has already ended once. He was dropped by Haas when they dropped both him and Grosjean at the same time and brought in Schumacher and Mazepin, and that went well. And then, they brought him back within the Mazepin scandal. But yeah, I don't really see any team going for him, which is a shame because, like I said, I think he's a fantastic driver and very talented. And if I was to rank the grid on terms of who I think is worst to best, I think Magnussen will be in the top half of that ranking. I think severely, severely underrated. But this may be the end of his career. We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, heavily rumoured that Ocon is the man to replace him. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you may disagree, but I think Magnussen's a better driver than Ocon is. I know Ocon has had his race win, but that was it wasn't on pace. It was because of what happened in the race. But, sometimes that happens. You only race the race that you have, and he won, and congratulations to him. But I think Magnussen is a far better driver than Ocon is, and I think there is no debate that Magnussen is a far better teammate than Ocon is. And when you have a rookie teammate, or a rookie driver in your team, what you really need is a senior driver alongside him who will be cooperative and helpful. And those are two words that do not go well with Esteban Ocon. So we'll have to wait and see how Haas happens next year. But yeah, sad for Kevin Magnussen. I hope he can end up somewhere. What I would love, more than anything, is if Sauber got him. And we have Hulkenberg and Magnussen together again in Sauber next year. I think that'd be fantastic. But I think that seat is reserved for Carlos Sainz. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Right. There you go, that's Haas. So we talk about Red Bull, because, oh my goodness, we are on the precipice, everyone, of what may be a seismic event within the Red Bull garage. And it all revolves around one man, Sergio Perez. I put out a video last weekend, and I think in the thumbnail I put Perez under pressure, or something like that, 2 Ps, very good. But the fact of the matter is this. Perez has been under pressure since what? Halfway through 2021? Maybe the start of 2022? He's been under pressure for at least a year and a half now. So it's no news that Perez is under pressure. But Perez is seriously under pressure now, which is mad because he was given a contract for 2 years, 2 months ago? But there are a few things falling into place now which I think signal the end of Sergio Perez's Red Bull career. Let's get into them. Firstly, Liam Lawson, who is kind of the loose jigsaw piece in all of this. We know that he has to go in somewhere in this puzzle, but we don't know where. The obvious one is put him in the racing bill. But Ricciardo's there. And where does Ricciardo go? Because, Ricciardo's done decently. I think Ricciardo's done all right. So, I think it'd be a bit unfair to drop Ricciardo. So where does Ricciardo go? And then you look at Perez. So it all comes from Liam Lawson because they cannot lose Liam Lawson. He's too good. They cannot have an Oscar Piastri in Alpine. When Alpine had that wonderful young talent and they just went, you'll get your chance eventually. You'll get your chance eventually. And eventually he did get his chance in a McLaren, not in an Alpine. So Red Bull can't afford that to happen with Liam Lawson. So they have to have Liam Lawson in a car next year. And they've had tests with him all over the past week. And the report coming out of it, of course, this is not official, and rumours and innuendo and whatever it might be. But the reports say that Liam Lawson was within a few tenths of Max Verstappen's time at his filming day at Silverstone. His pace is in the window that Red Bull need it to be. Now, of course, like I said, this is all rumour, this is not official, and also with, time lapse, it's all a bit of pinch of salt because, it's all about track condition at that time. So the track condition may be massively different from when it was qualifying or the race in Silverstone. So we don't really know. You can't really compare track times over 2 different days. But Red Bull have the data they need to be able to compare. And it's looking good for Liam Lawson, if you will have a look there, if that is to be believed. Something that is to be believed, and we'll get more detail on this in a little bit, but Red Bull have brought upgrades this weekend. Big upgrades to the car. Changing basically the entire aero structure of the rear of the car. But only for one car. the car of Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez's car has not received the upgrades this weekend. Now, I know a lot of teams do this. Famously, McLaren have been doing it quite a lot over the last few years, where Lando will receive the upgrades, and then later down the line, Piastri will receive the upgrades. I don't remember Red Bull doing this too often, in terms of one car has everything and the other car has nothing, but they've done it this weekend, and my goodness, the Red Bull is much improved. Well, it was never bad. It's never been bad, but Max Verstappen looks to be back in the comfort zone that he likes to be this weekend, with Sergio Perez not having the upgrade. And apparently this race weekend and the next race weekend are the ones which decide Sergio's future. And Sergio now is at a disadvantage. He does not have the same car as Max Verstappen. And now he has to show the world that he deserves to be here. It's not going to happen. And I know some people will go, well, this is very unfair. He has 2 races to prove that he deserves to be in the Red Bull, and he hasn't got the upgrades that Max does. And yes, that is unfair, until you remember that Sergio Perez has had 2.5 years to prove that he deserves to be where he is. And, he's had moments of brilliance, and he's had wins, of course, and podiums. But the overriding thing of Sergio Perez's Red Bull career will be the massive drop-offs he has at mid-season, where he can't get out of Q1, or he can't score points. And, this time last year, it was fine. This time last year, where Max Verstappen's winning 10 races in a row, it's fine. This year, when Max is driving at 110%, and sometimes 110% for Max can only score him second place because a McLaren or a Mercedes or a Ferrari is a little bit quicker than the Red Bull is, then it's not fine. Because Sergio's performances now might cost Red Bull a Constructors' Championship. Last year, when Max Verstappen won the Constructors' Championship by himself, that doesn't matter. Now it does. And I think time has run out for Sergio. You had your time to prove it. It's done. It's over. My prediction is, after the summer break, Ricciardo will be in the second Red Bull. The Racing Bulls will be Yuki Tsunoda and Sergio Perez. And the second half of this season will serve basically as a test run for Daniel Ricciardo. If you impress in the second half of this year in the Red Bull, that seat is yours next year. We'll wait and see what happens from there. And I think Sergio might be done at the end of the year, and it'll be Lawson and Tsunoda in the Racing Bulls. We'll see where Sergio goes. Of course, Sergio has been asked about this, and he had this to say. He said, "I don't understand why there's so much talk about me and my future. Nothing is going to change these 2 weekends, even if I win the race or even if I finish last. I have a contract with the team and I'm going to fulfill it." Of course, that's what he's going to say. I wish him the best, but I think the writing is certainly on the wall for Sergio Perez. It is not looking good. Right, let's go to Upgrade Corner, everybody. And it's an interesting one. Let's start with Red Bull now. So they brought quite a bit this weekend. This is their biggest round of upgrades in quite some time. So a new engine cover, new halo, new rear corner, new front wing, and new front corner. And actually, they are quite visible. We can see here, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll have it on the screen now. If you're on Spotify, I guess to describe it for you. But on screen now, this is Sergio Perez's car. So this is what we'll just name the old car for now. And you can see here on the engine cover, these kind of like, I've always called them shoulders, but other people call them like cannons or whatever it might be. They came from the Mercedes of a couple years ago that this idea came from, and it was quite a big shock to see them on the Red Bull this year because Mercedes said they don't work. Well, it seems like Red Bull have reached the same conclusion because this is Max Verstappen's Red Bull this weekend, the upgraded one, and as you can see, they're very much gone, and it's very much the inverse as well. It's not just that they've been taken off. You can see the curve back in to the engine cover. So a big visual change of this Red Bull car to kind of go back to something they had last year. I'm sure it's more technical than that, but it does look like a revert back to the 2023 car from there. Of course, Red Bull not the only ones with upgrades this weekend, but so far, like I said, with Max Verstappen, I don't think the one-lap pace is necessarily there. Well, it's still there, but I think the car will shine in race pace, which is obviously more important than one-lap pace. Anyway, Mercedes have brought a new rear corner, and that's it. Now, there was a lot of hype about Mercedes this weekend. Of course, have won the last 2 races back-to-back, and there was a whole thing about Mercedes are going to have an aggressive upgrade strategy over the next couple of races, but only bringing one thing this weekend. And from the look of the practice sessions, and we'll get into that a bit, but it looks like they're a bit on the back foot. I was expecting to come into this weekend and be like, yep, they're going to win it again. This is going to be Lewis Hamilton back-to-back wins. But no, they seem to be on the back foot. Someone who isn't on the back foot, though, is Ferrari. Brand new floor for Ferrari, and for the first time in ages, they are at the front of the field. So, as I said, we'll go into more detail in a little bit. But yeah, Ferrari did very well in FP1 especially. Oh man, let's talk about Aston. Right, so Aston Martin became Aston Martin in 2021 when they went from Racing Bills to Aston Martin. I might be wrong here, and please correct me if I am wrong. I don't think Aston Martin, as a team, have ever brought an upgrade package that made the car quicker. And this has been a thing in my head for a while now, like especially last year where they started so well, then just fell off completely, and they would bring upgrades that would just do nothing. And here's the list of upgrades Aston have brought this weekend. Halo, floor body, floor fences, floor edge, diffuser, beam wing. So the entire top and bottom of the car is brand new. Huge upgrades for Aston, who haven't brought upgrades to this car since Monaco. So a long time, in terms of the season, that Aston have been without upgrades. They've brought the upgrades here this weekend. And obviously, practice sessions, we don't really know what's going on. We won't see their true pace until qualifying. But they're still nowhere. They're still just kind of like in the middle, lower middle, where they've been all year. To bring all that, these are the ground effect era of cars, where the floor is so integral, and that's like the most important part of the car in terms of performance. You bring a brand new floor, and it does nothing. It's just, what has this done? Aston are an enigma. To have that much money and that much talent as well, in terms of Alonso's there obviously, but they've hired basically every engineer, and now they want to hire Adrian Newey as well, and they probably will. To have all that talent in the team, and all that money in the team, and a brand new factory, and to produce nothing, it's just like, is this like a front for an illegal business? What is this? Is the Aston Martin Formula One team a money laundering scheme? Is what I'm beginning to think now. Because they're just nowhere. They should be up there. They should be there with Red Bull, with Mercedes, with McLaren, with Ferrari. They're being beaten by Haas. What has happened to Aston Martin? It's madness that they can bring this much stuff and still be crap. Who knows how it will play out this race weekend, but my expectations aren't high for the Aston Martin team. We'll wait and see. Alpine have brought a new rear corner. Williams have brought a new engine cover. Racing Bills have brought a new rear corner as well. 3 teams have brought nothing. That is McLaren, Haas, and Stake F1 team Kick Sauber. McLaren, first time in a while, I think, that have brought nothing. They're still up there. But it does seem like, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari have all brought something. And Ferrari and Red Bull have definitely made steps forward with these upgrade packages. Let's have a look now at practice sessions. So here we go. FP1 was topped by Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen in P2, Charles Leclerc P3, but the shocking name here was Zhou Guanyu, who was 5th. Now, if you remember last year, Zhou Guanyu actually qualified 5th, so it's a track that he likes. I mean, this is a practice session and the Sauber is a lot worse than it was last year. So we'll have to wait and see in terms of stuff there. But fifth for Zhou in this practice session was very surprising. The McLarens weren't too far off, 6th and 7th. George Russell was in 4th with Lewis Hamilton down in 10th. So, yeah, it's a hard one to get a read on here. Sergio Perez was 11th, of course. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think on the Saturday it's going to be very close. But I do see Max Verstappen he looks the most comfortable in the practice sessions from what I've seen so far. And I think he will have the race pace come Sunday. And, he has won the last 2 races here as well. Once from 2nd and once from 12th, I think it was. So, it's a track that he likes. Also, Ollie Behrman was out on FP1 as well, on one of his many outings for Haas. So he was doing pretty well as well. And he wasn't too far off Kurt Magnussen's times as well. I think they were doing race runs in FP1. Let's go to FP2 now. Charles Leclerc had a bit of a crash here, brought out the red flags. Lots of crashes this weekend so far. Well, not necessarily just crashes, but spins as well. And not just in F1, but F2 and F3 as well. Lots of people spinning, making mistakes, going in the gravel traps that we don't normally see at the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's never really one that you think, they're going to make mistakes here. But yeah, the people making mistakes, I don't know if it's been resurfaced or what, but maybe it might be because it's actually so hot. Despite the fact that Hungary had hailstone storms earlier this weekend is going to be incredibly hot. So I think it's taking it out on the tyres, and the track surface is very hot as well. So that might be playing into it. But Lando Norris topped the times on FP2. Max Verstappen was 2nd. Carlos Sainz in 3rd, so Max and Carlos in the top 3 for both sessions. Like I said, Lando Norris still thereabouts. Sergio Perez, a very impressive 4th, with George Russell in 5th. Kevin Magnussen was in 6th place, so he went to more fast lap times in FP2 because he'd done the race runs in FP1. Hulkenberg wasn't necessarily on the pace, but I think he was doing the race runs that he missed in the first practice session. Lewis Hamilton again in 7th. Hamilton, this is a track that he really likes. I think this is his most successful track in terms of podiums. It was level with Silverstone in terms of wins. They both had 8, but of course last time out he changed that to 9 for Silverstone, 9 wins. So this is now his second most successful track in terms of wins. But I think in terms of podiums, I'm just going to double check that now, so I don't want to look a fool on the internet. Not again. But let's have a look. Hungaroring. No, I was wrong. He's not even 2nd. He's had 11 podiums in Hungary. He has got 11 in Sakhir. Sakhir is Bahrain. He's got 12 in Barcelona and 15 at Silverstone. The stat I was thinking of is the track which he's had the most pole positions. There you go, that's the one. He's had 9 pole positions here. So, he's very good round 1 lap, but also he's very good in general. Here you go, here's another stat for you. Lewis Hamilton stat fans. The Hungaroring is the track where he has led the most laps by quite some margin. He's led 487 laps at the Hungaroring compared to 367 at Silverstone. So there you go. It's a track Lewis Hamilton's very good at, is my point, but he hasn't necessarily showed the pace thus far in FP1 and FP2. I thought Lewis Hamilton was going to come here and dominate off the back of the Silverstone win, of course, and like I've explained in perfect detail, it's a track that he likes. So I thought he'd come here and just dominate the whole thing. Doesn't look to be that way thus far. But like I said, I think it's going to be a close one. Let's get on to my predictions for the weekend. And I can let you go and do whatever you do. And, it's very hot in here, so I'll probably just open a window if that's what you're interested in what I get up to once I click stop recording. I normally make a thumbnail. Probably going to have Sergio Perez in the thumbnail. Initially I thought Kevin Magnussen, but we've spoken more about Perez. Who cares? I'm rambling so much. Predictions, everyone! Predictions time. And like I said, I've never got these wrong, and I never will. So here they are. Prediction number 1. Max Verstappen win. It's been a while. It's been a couple races since we had a Max Verstappen win. I think we need one. The people, they're calling for it. I can hear the F1 fans. The F1 fans are going, oh no, we've had too many variety of winners. Please, Max Verstappen, win 10 in a row. And I think that's a message that all F1 fans can get behind. I'm sure that you'll agree. So I think Max Verstappen is winning this weekend. I think these upgrades to the Red Bull are working well. Like I said, race pace looks pretty good. The car looks pretty solid. It's a track that he's won at a couple of times before. I won't go into the stats of his best track. It's not. That's Austria or Mexico. One or the other. And my second prediction is it's going to be incredibly close in qualifying, but I'm going to put a number on it. Top 6 within 0.3 of a second. There's my prediction, everyone. We've done it. Predictions, preview, over. Let me know what you're going to think, what you think is going to happen in the comments down below. We'll be back tomorrow for all things qualifying. Friday we'll be here, all things F3, all things F2, all things F1. Monday is driver racing, so there's loads coming up across the weekend, so make sure you subscribe for that. On Sunday, the race review might be a little bit late, because I'm actually out when the race is on, but it will be there. I don't know when, but it will. If it means I don't go to bed until the middle of the night, and I'm late for work and I get fired, it doesn't matter because I'm doing it for you, the people. That's how dedicated I am. My God. I'm sweating so much, it's so hot in this room. Let's end the video. Have a good weekend, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow for qualifying. Have a good one. Goodbye.